teach ethics to kids. Join us.
While Mom's away,
She's staying with us till my mom gets home.
Hey, babysitter, huh?
will Daddy play?
You please the son, you please the father.
Our next step is to get the two lovebirds a little closer together.
Looks like our little nanny works fast.
Loving.
It could be happening in your own neighborhood and you wouldn't even know it.
We'll give you some signs of satanic worship and find out why more and more teens are becoming involved next on AM Northwest.
Remember back in '60 when Lloyd Center first opened and it had escalators? Well, the all-new Lloyd Center still has fun escalators, plus a great new food court and 75 new stores. Now what do you say? Yeah, we thought so.
Could you be passionately in love just once a week and only in prime time? Next, Donahue meets some of your favorite romantic couples. From Cheers, Kelsey Grammer and Bebe Neuwirth. From Amen, Clifton Davis and Anna Maria Horsford. From Coach, Craig T. Nelson and Shelley Fabre. They're having a love affair right in your living room, mixing love with laughter. Meet romantic couples from Cheers, Amen, and Coach on the next Donahue from L.A.
Tuesday afternoon at 3 on KATU Channel 2.
Women can wear pants and can be strong and powerful. I want men to have the freedom to be sensual, creative, elegant.
Little boys should be taught it's not sissy to take home ec classes.
Men Speak Out, Sunday at 6.
If you think that childhood hunger isn't a problem in the Northwest, the truth may be just around the corner. Find out how together we can help hungry kids. Wednesday on Channel 2 News at 5.
The hottest performers in country music on the next Oprah Winfrey Show.
Live from Portland, Oregon, it's AM Northwest. This morning, I'll look at teenagers and Satanism, morning gourmet horse maker, and decorating pots with Kathy Cardinelli. And now, live from KATU in Portland, here are your hosts Jim Bosley and Mary Starrett.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning and welcome to AM Northwest. Glad you're joining us.
Is it Tuesday? Just feels like Monday.
It does feel like Monday.
Heat goes on. We're going to be warm again today. By this weekend, though, you'll be saying, boy, does it feel good outside. About 73 or 74. Yeah, I think we're going to be down in the cooler part of the...
Is it my imagination or in the mornings, is it a teeny bit colder real early in the morning?
Oh, it's a little bit.
We're starting to feel like fall.
Right. We have less daylight now. We're having more nighttime hours and more chance to cool a little bit more. Yeah, it's
more time to sleep.
It's more time to sleep. That's right. I'm going to bed earlier and earlier.
We're going to talk about something that is very serious, very disturbing, and it's happening in your community, and it's happening in mine. There are statistics that show that the highest number of cults per capita exist in California, Idaho, Nevada, and Washington. There are an estimated 5 to 10 million Americans involved in cults, and it has been estimated in some particular studies that 3% of high school students are involved in a cult, among those satanic cults. This morning on AM Northwest, we're going to ask you to take a look at the signs and the symptoms, some of the signals that could lead us to know if there's anybody in our family, whether it's our teenagers, our children, our family members, who are involved in satanic cults. We're going to talk to a law enforcement officer who's become an expert on this. She says that the criminal activity that goes along with satanic cults is very destructive, and it is happening in our state, in our community. We have first a gentleman that you probably have seen on the program before. He is an expert and the director of the Positive Action Center, and that is, it provides counseling for affected people of cults and also their family members. We're talking about dabblers and adult survivors this morning. Please welcome Adrian Greek. Good morning.
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 You know, ever since Saturday Night Live talked about this, there was this one character which talked a little bit about Satan and made fun of the fact that could it be Satan? We all say the word now tongue-in-cheek because we don't want to be taken, we don't want people to think that we're being overreactive, but truly, is satanic involvement, is satanic cult and satanic criminal behavior, is it happening, and to what degree?
Well, it is happening, and we get calls every day from families who have somebody in their family, a teenager quite often, who has showing some very weird behavior, maybe has tried to commit suicide, in some cases has committed suicide, and that they discover that there are things in their room. They've been listening to heavy metal music obsessively, not just a little bit, but obsessively, maybe have done other kinds of things, and so they became trapped in a satanic belief system. It is prevalent among our teenagers, and it comes from three different sources. One, those that are looking for some sense of power in their lives. Others that are invited to parties or places where they get recruited into a criminal activity, which then uses satanic ritual power as a part of the system of control. And third, ones that are born into it and then as teenagers are beginning to speak out or run away from home and are leaving multi-generational groups, which are the real heavy-duty ones. Today, I think it's important, though, to talk about the teenagers who are finding this as a way to rationalize and justify the confused kinds of feelings that they're having and the rebellious feelings and so forth.
What kind of criminal activity are you talking about?
Well, Lisa will be on in a little while, so you can talk more about the criminal activity, but in particular, prostitution, pornography, all kinds of con games, things that are done in ritual settings which may involve sexual and physical abuse of people, spiritual abuse.
Do they believe this is for the religious aspects? Do they look upon this as some sort of a religion?
It's a different base. Some come into it as a religious type of thing, and it's a rebellious religion. It's an anti-Christian type of religion. Or some come into it as a way to rationalize what they're doing and to feel a sense of power and justification in doing sexual, drug, crime kinds of activity that they feel bad about.
We told our viewers that we were going to give them some of the signals and the signs of a satanic cult so that they would be able to, if there was something going on, they would be able to discern it. We have some symbols, and these are symbols that we've heard, 666, for instance. Tell us about what we could look for, what we could find, and if we were to see these, does it necessarily mean that there's satanic abuse going on?
Well, 6, of course, is the mark of the beast, the 666, and the FFF, which is the 6th letter of the alphabet. And that's from Revelations in the Bible. And so that's taken as a sign. And usually when you see the graffiti out, this graffiti is by what we call the dabblers, the ones that are just marginally involved. Those that are more deeply involved don't leave evidence behind. But the upside-down cross, the cross of Nero, which was the defeat of Christianity, this is the upside-down cross.
Right here.
And that's symptomatic of turning things upside down. And basically, the way to understand Satanist belief systems is to just turn your whole belief system upside down. And so good becomes evil and evil becomes good.
What about what looks like a peace sign? And we've seen this around for many years. And there was talk that this was actually a broken cross, but nobody wanted to believe that back then.
Right. That's the symbol for the crucifixion of Peter on the cross. He was crucified upside down.
Okay, how about the eye or the evil eye?
The evil eye is, I'm not sure, that comes, I think, from Egyptian kinds of mystical belief systems, but the eye is very prevalent in the drawings that former Satanists make and children that were raised in this.
Now, they've got down here, this is the hand signal called the horned hand.
Right.
Very popular in heavy metal circles.
Right, putting up the index and the small finger, and sometimes they even will chop off a finger if they're deeply involved in Satanism. In order to do the sign, horn sign, which is the sign of the goat, which is a symbol for, again, for Satan.
How prevalent is this, and how serious does it get? To what degree will kids go and people go to be involved in this?
Well, I think it's still a relatively small percentage of the population, but it's increasing as there's a sense of powerlessness among the young people, as they're raised in families where there is a real contrast between feelings of good and evil and the belief in ritual magic. Whether it's for good or bad, if you believe in ritual magic, it's easy to switch over to the other side in order to find the power that you're looking for.
Could Jeffrey Dahmer be considered somebody who's practicing some kind of satanic rituals because of the dismemberment of bodies, which is so prevalent in satanic culture?
From what I've read, I would say that it's very, very possible that he was, and that this collection of body parts body parts are very important to Satanists because this is the source of the power that they get is from the soul that's and spirit that's contained in the body parts and in the blood. And so I would be very surprised if he wasn't marketing some of those. At the same time, maybe he had been involved in some satanic or spiritual kind of belief system as a teenager, which then he turned into his own type of interpretation rather than something that was more general.
Maybe I misunderstood you. You say that Jeffrey could be marketing body parts?
Right. There are people that sell skulls and bones and brains and blood and all kinds of things. Sure.
No.
To people to use in the rituals.
Okay. We're going to take a break right now. We'll talk next to a young lady who is with the Coos County Sheriff's Office. That is some graffiti found at the Edge Hill Manor in Troutdale. We're talking this morning about Satanism, the worshiping of. We're talking specifically about teenagers. We have Adrian Greek, who's an expert. He's on the panel with us this morning. And I want to introduce a lady who is with the Coos County Sheriff's Office. She is an expert. We'll talk a little bit about crime and Satanism. Please welcome Lisa Wampole.
Good morning.
When a crime has been committed, when some sort of a ritual is taking place out in the ground or something, do they always leave signs around? Do they want you to know they've been there and who's responsible?
Not always, but sometimes.
And what kind of crimes are we talking about here?
Primarily what we see around Oregon and southern Washington are things like criminal trespass, people who trespass on other people's property to do some sort of a ritual, criminal mischief, people who do damage to other people's property during a ritual. For instance, they may go into a church and cause some destruction inside of a church or someone's home. Grave desecration, people who dig up body parts to use for rituals. And in our area, we seem to have a number of animal mutilations, sexual abuse, physical abuse of children, and it can include killing someone.
They sacrifice, don't they?
Yes.
And real people. They sometimes animals, but can be babies. And
yes, it can. Yes.
Does this go on down in your area? You see, is there a cult-like following down in the Coos Bay area?
We have a number of active groups, individual participants. So they can be someone practicing alone, or it can be someone practicing in a large group, and we have both.
You brought along some pictures, and these are from actual cases that you were involved with. Why don't you tell us, we'll take a look at the first set of pictures, and you can tell us just what this circle means.
This is a ritual circle that was located in the city of North Bend. The table that you see with the altar cloth is the table that's used as the altar. What you cannot see in this picture is that there is a meat hook suspended on a pulley over the center of this circle.
And what was that designed to do?
It would only be speculation on my part.
Okay. We have some other pictures, too. Let's take a look at those, and you can tell us exactly what we're seeing. This is what?
This is an altar that was located by Roseburg Police Department during an investigation that they did, a search warrant that they did involving a grave desecration.
And we have pictures of that, too. You say that this was obviously taken from a cemetery.
This skull was dug from a local cemetery in Roseburg, and the people who were involved in this particular case were doing what is known as necromancy. They were contacting the spirit of the dead during a ritual using that skull.
Are you seeing a larger amount of teenagers becoming involved today, more today? Are you more aware of them today than you were before, maybe?
We're definitely more aware of them, and I don't know whether activity has increased or our awareness has increased. But certainly officers are becoming more and more aware of things that are happening. We're getting lots and lots of calls from parents and school personnel.
Are we here? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I want to follow up on that and ask this. Is there a connection to heavy metal music?
There appears to be a connection to heavy metal music, and maybe Adrian can give you his opinion on that. I would say that when you have a child who seems obsessed, as Adrian mentioned before, with heavy metal music, I personally don't believe that listening to a song turns someone into a monster, but if you have a child who maybe is exhibiting some other signs and symptoms and also is obsessed with that type of music, that certainly that can play a role.
Let's talk about that, because there have been a lot of jokes made about the fact that heavy metal music is to blame for this, but what are the themes of heavy metal music, and why would this be implicated in Satanism?
Well, where there are themes of sex, destruction, death, suicide, those types of things. These particular individuals that become obsessed with the satanic aspects of it begin to fill their minds with ideas about all of those kinds of things, and they listen to it hour after hour. Most of us can't understand the lyrics, but they use it, and also the beat of the music and so forth can actually change the heart rate and the blood pressure of a person. So it actually does have some effect.
What does Satanism offer to the teenager or to any member of the group, and what can it give that they might not be getting somewhere else?
Well, the first thing is a justification or a rationale for the feelings they have that they think are disapproved of, feelings of sexual activity, feelings of desire for self-gratification of various kinds, and so forth. And so they will use the Satanism as a justification. Then they're looking for power, because quite often these are sort of loners that feel powerless. You know, they've had something happen to them where they didn't have power over a situation. And so they use the rituals to begin to get power. And as soon as they put a spell on somebody in a ritual and that something happens to that person, then they can feel the power. Now, maybe next time it doesn't work, so they go to a deeper level of power. Maybe they start sacrificing animals, and so they go another step deeper and deeper.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that there are certain holidays and feasts that are observed by the satanic cult members, including Halloween and the summer and spring solstice, and we'll find out what happens on those particular days. We'll ask other questions, too. We're going to open up the phones, but we do want to let you know that there appears to be some new developments in the Soviet Union. ABC could break in at any time with information. We're going to continue our show. It should be a short report, so we ask that you stay with us as we continue our look at satanic cults. We'll be right back on AM Northwest. That's some graffiti found at Edgefield Manor in Troutdale, and we're talking a little bit about some of the feasts and holidays that seem to have satanic importance. Can you tell us what these are?
Well, most of them revolve around the solstices and equinoxes, and a period 5 weeks and 1 day after each one of those, so that these are natural holidays. And then, of course, we have the Christian holidays, which are also used, and the birthdays of the members. So you have, and the full moons and so forth. So you have dates coming up every couple of weeks or so.
What do they do on those days? What are the
Well, some of them
rituals?
are deeper rituals and so forth, and others are more celebration kinds of rituals and are not as heavy. But there are sexual rituals, there are blood rituals in which there's actually drinking of blood and letting of blood. And
Who do they do this on? Where do they get these people for the sexual and the human sacrifices?
Well, people connect up with each other if they're not already in a group. They'll they'll find other people that are looking for satanic material, books and things to use in the ritual. Will connect up with other people, and then they'll find out about where something's going to happen.
Okay, Jim.
This young man was at once a Satanist.
Yes.
No more.
No.
You want to clarify that? When were you and where?
Well, I was a teen when I started. I was like 15 when I picked up the Satanic Bible and worked with it and found it a practical tool. Anymore, I consider magic psychological, period, because I never really got anything out of it other than a psychological clearing of myself.
Did you go to meetings or rituals?
When I was in San Francisco was where I spent most of my time with many groups of people, from members of the Temple of Set to members of the Church of Satan to many Wiccans.
So you walked away because what, bored you?
Well, it didn't. It's not that it bored me. People were into, like, political games down there, even the kids. And the kids seemed to get involved for political reasons. There was no murders, there was no animal slaughters, there was no drinking of blood, there was none of that.
Were you ever into witchcraft?
Witchcraft was one of my interests, Wicca.
Maybe I can ask Adrian, does witchcraft and Satanism kind of go along hand in hand?
Well, they talk about white magic and black magic, and I personally feel that it's hard to distinguish sometimes between the two, but white magic supposedly is for good purposes, and members of Wicca and witchcraft I would not identify as being Satanists, but they are very ripe for recruitment by Satanists into satanic beliefs.
Let's take a phone call. Good morning. You're on AM Northwest.
Good morning. My husband is a chaplain in one of the facilities in the Portland, Vancouver area, and he also works with people up in the Walla Walla State Penitentiary. We receive on a regular basis information from prisoners, as well as when we go in twice a week to work with the prisoners, that the practice of Satanism is very, very common, and that the prisoners themselves will tell you of the rituals, you know, that they are able to do on a regular basis, even this last Sunday when we were in. What is it this right? We have been given the information that this is the right of the prisoners that are incarcerated, that if they want to practice Satanism in their cell, that is their right. There is nothing we can do.
Thank you. Lisa?
One of the reasons that our department became so involved in taking a look at these kinds of activities was because of that very reason. We had inmates who were practicing rituals inside the jail cell. Much of our information does come from inmates and parole and probationers, and we do currently have inmates at both Oregon State Penitentiary and our local facilities who are currently practicing these kinds of rituals in their jail cell. Since they are not allowed, obviously, to do some of the things that they would do if they were on the outside, they make tabletop circles, ritual circles, maybe make drawings. They do make attempts at calling up demons and burning candles and setting things on fire, and lots of self-mutilation, drinking of blood, types of activities that do take place in the jail cell. Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a break. More on teens and Satan when we come back.
Yes, and is the problem growing? We have a question in the audience. Yes.
What would you do if you found out that one of your children was involved in Satanic religion?
What if you see the signs on one of your children? What do you do? What do you look for?
Well, it's important to have good communication with them, but at that point I'd be very cautious and I would look for whatever signs I can. I think every parent, when they feel that there's something happening, has the right to go into their child's room and to look for material. If you find books and things with signs, if you find a pentagram under the rug on the floor or on the back of the dresser, if you find candles and so forth, and they're listening obsessively to heavy metal music, then it's time to contact somebody, our office, Positive Action Center, or we may be able to refer you to someone depending on the situation.
And how do you intervene?
Well, intervention is something which needs to be done very carefully because there is a rebelliousness about this and there's a desire to protect. But if they're not deeply involved, then maybe communication can help. But beyond that, it's important to have a background on that person and who they are and why they might be involved in this, and then to make sure that you do it right.
Let's take a phone call. Good morning. You're on AM Northwest.
Yes, I have some problems with some of the symbols that you're defining as being satanic, such as the Ankh or the peace sign. The Ankh is actually a symbol of resurrection and rebirth in the Egyptian religion. It was not a satanic symbol by any stretch of the imagination. The peace symbol also started out as the semaphore symbols for nuclear disarmament. It had nothing to do with anti-Christian type stuff, and that denotation was presented by the Christians, not by anybody else. They were the people who were scared of it. The Eye of the Pyramid started out as a Masonic symbol. It represents the all-seeing eye of God.
Well, maybe, Adrian, you could, where did this...
Well, these things do cross over and have double meanings quite often. And the meaning for the Satanist is very clear, but the meaning for the other people is also clear.
But could we not see a sign like the peace sign, which became the mainstream symbol for nuclear disarmament? That becomes mainstream, but nevertheless its original intent was the broken cross. Is that not right?
Right, that was the original intent as far as I know, and of course we redefine words all the time. You know, the word cute meant one thing at one time, and now it means practically the opposite. So
there was one comment you wanted to make about the fact that we don't necessarily have to be so much worried about the teen Satanist in our community as much as we have to worry about his danger to himself.
Right, as they go deeper and deeper into the levels, they feel not just that they believe, but they become possessed by the very demons that they create, and they believe in this, that they feel that they have no way out other than to commit suicide or to kill themselves, and drugs and alcohol become part of the involvement and so forth before that.
Lisa, caution as far from a law enforcement officer to us?
I think Adrian's observation is very, very much the same as mine, that we're more concerned about the individual than about the threat they pose to other people. It's a very self-destructive type of involvement, and we've seen a number of suicides around the state attributed to this kind of behavior. So I think that individuals need to be concerned about themselves and the criminal involvement they might become involved with.
Well, we want to thank our guests very much for your expertise, your information, and sharing it with us this morning. You have a tough job ahead of you. There's going to be a Satanism and Ritualistic Abuse seminar Friday and Saturday, September 6th and 7th, from 8:45 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. at the Columbia River Red Lion Inn. For more information, you can call 252-0997. We thank you, Adrian and Lisa. Jim?
We'll have the latest from the Soviet Union, the latest weather. That's all coming up, plus much, much more. We'll take a break. Be right back.